This is the 2024 GMC Yukon. Is it better than the Jeep Wagoneer? Hey everybody, it's Tom from Vehicle Visionary. I hope you're having a great day. Today I'm at Morgan Buick GMC in Shreveport, Louisiana to give you the particulars on both vehicles. And I know there's the changes coming for 2025 with the Yukon. Obviously, there's going to be an increase in price as well. So if you're looking maybe between the Wagoneer and the Yukon right now for the 2024 model year, this is definitely the video that's going to help you out. So let's talk about the differences that are going to be cosmetically speaking. We'll show some video from a Wagoneer video I did recently to help in the comparison as we work our way through all of the different details. When it comes to the Wagoneer, it looks like it sits a little lower to the ground and is maybe a little bit wider. Just the overall design really gives it that illusion more than anything else. There's not massive differences in overall size. But here with the Yukon, obviously you're going to see some differences with the design with the front grille and with the headlight design. So depending on what you like most, well, that can be part of your decision-making process. Both models are available in either two-wheel drive or all-wheel drive, and obviously a lot of cosmetic differences overall with the front, the sides, and the rear. The one thing I do like about both models that is similar is you have the nice, tall, large windows. That makes them easy to see out of. I like the way that works. So that's always a good thing, and depending on trim level will obviously determine some of the features and the functionality that you're going to find. And this is where the big differences are going to start. Under the hood, depending on what you choose to buy as far as your model goes with the Yukon, there's a few different engine options. You have a couple of V8 options to choose from. In this case, it's the 5.3 liter V8 that puts out 355 horsepower and 383 pounds-feet of torque. Or you can go with the 6.2 liter V8 that puts out 420 horsepower and 460 pounds-feet of torque. With the Jeep Wagoneer, there is one engine option available, and that's going to be the 3-liter twin-turbo 6-cylinder engine. It puts out 420 horsepower and 486 pounds-feet of torque. Very close numbers to what we have here with the Yukon when it comes to the 6.2 liter. The closest engine comparing to that 3-liter 6-cylinder when it comes to the Yukon is going to be the 3-liter Duramax diesel. Keep in mind, that is not a diesel engine. That is the only engine option available as of 2024 with the Wagoneer. In this case, with the 3-liter engine for the Yukon, it makes 277 horsepower and 460 pounds-feet of torque. And the difference in transmissions, we're looking at a 10-speed automatic with the Yukon and an 8-speed automatic with the Wagoneer. And here is a fairly big difference. Towing capacity. With the Yukon, we're looking at about 8,000 pounds max towing. With the Wagoneer, we're looking at class-leading 10,000 pounds. And how about cargo capacity? 25.5 to 122.9 cubic feet is what we will find with the Yukon. And for the Wagoneer, we're looking at 27.4 to 116.7 cubic feet. Here's a big difference, and maybe it doesn't mean a lot to some people, but it's something I've always noticed, and it's this. When you go to lower the rear seats back here, you have buttons that you can use to use a power function to fold the seats down and bring them back up. But with the Yukon, you have to hold the button down. Notice if I let go of the button, it stops. Whether you're lowering or raising the seats, you have to hold that button down until the function is complete. But with the Wagoneer, you don't have to do that. You just hold the button down. Once it starts lowering, you can let go of the button and the seats either lower or raise, the rear seats, with that power functionality. You'll find a spare tire with both models, and basically the same setup as far as the sunroof goes. You do have a panoramic sunroof, although with the Wagoneer, you have a front and rear sunroof. And obviously, you're going to see some big differences in the interior with the overall look and the functionality. But there is one thing that I think is noteworthy. When it comes to the pass-through between these middle seats in the middle row, these two seats right here, there's more space in the Wagoneer to get through. Not that it's that big of a deal, but depending on who's getting in and getting out and how they want to do that, that does make a difference. And how about differences within the interior? Well, obviously you're going to see some big differences in the overall look. You will find a larger touchscreen in the Wagoneer, but in my opinion, I believe that the touchscreen in the Yukon is a little more user-friendly, at least as of 2024, and I feel confident that's going to carry over into 2025, even though I haven't had hands-on experience just yet. One of the differences you'll also find that I think is a sticking point on both vehicles for potential buyers. With the Yukon, you're going to have the push-button shifter right here. With the Wagoneer, you're going to have a more traditional placement, we'll say, of the shifter, but it's still a little bit different. I don't think people like it very much, but you can tell me what you think down in the comments with that rotary dial shifter or gear select. But you'll find the same features and functionality within both as far as heated seats and ventilated seats and all of those kinds of features. It really just comes down to personal preference when it gets down to that. But one thing that is also going to be a difference based on my experience is what it's like to drive each model. Okay, let's talk about the driving experience between the two models. In my estimation, based on having driven both vehicles, the Wagoneer just feels a little bit better. It feels a little bit smaller, honestly, when you're driving it. As funny as that might sound, it doesn't have that big, almost school bus-like feeling. Not that the Yukon is unenjoyable to drive, but I just found the overall driving experience with the Wagoneer to be a little better. A little bit better ride quality. And it just, I don't know, it just felt more compact and just made it seem enjoyable, a little more enjoyable to drive. But keep something in mind. That might be based on the fact that I'm used to driving a GMC 2500 as my daily driver. So I'm used to driving a fairly large vehicle anyway. So that might have something to do with that. When it comes to the technology, it is equally easy to use in both, but as I said earlier in the video, I just prefer what we have here. It seems to be a little bit better. Now, I will say that with that 3-liter that is now the only engine option available for the Wagoneer, it definitely gets up and goes and does a really good job of it. So that makes a difference. And I don't know if you can see that right there, but I'm guessing that my light was green for about 3 seconds or so. And our friend up the road here decided that that was just too long to wait for maybe 1.5 minutes to 2 minutes at that light back there. They blew that light big time, and I don't know if your vantage point could show that. Let me stay on track here instead of being distracted by bad drivers. Now, the one thing I will also go ahead and say is that I just overall on-road road manners definitely better with the Wagoneer. But I know a lot of people are out there saying that the Wagoneer is not as mechanically dependable as the Yukon. Now, I can't really say for sure on that because I don't have enough experience at driving either one to really know. Not a daily driver. We'll be interested to see how people respond in the comments to that information. But when it comes to driving, you definitely have some more body roll, and let me just bring that into more simplistic terminology. The Wagoneer definitely doesn't lean to the side as much when you're going into corners. It seems to be more stable. That's probably the best way I can describe that. I know I've kind of used that as a point that I've stayed stuck on here for just a little bit, but that is definitely worth noting. So depending on your situation, that's something you might want to consider here. Now, the turning radius here, pretty good, about the same for both, I'd say. Hard to say which one is actually tighter because I didn't get to make a turn like that yesterday with when I filmed the Wagoneer that I've shown you throughout this video. Both are easy to see out of. That's a plus, no matter what the situation is. But as far as the overall ride quality, while the Yukon is not what I would call uncomfortable, it seems that the Wagoneer does a little bit better job of soaking up the bumps, at least based on yesterday's test drive. I say that as if we're watching these on just one day. I filmed a Wagoneer the day before I filmed this video. So it's really hard to say for sure which one I would personally favor, although both have plenty of power, it is nice to have the multiple engine options available, and a lot of that's going to carry over into 2025, obviously, with the refresh. We're not seeing a full redesign with the Yukon for 2025. It is a refresh. There are going to be some significant changes, but it isn't a full redesign, and being that the Wagoneer has only been out with this current generation for just a few years, obviously there are no massive changes coming for 2025. So overall, both very enjoyable vehicles to drive, plenty of interior space. Now, if you need that extra cargo capacity, well, obviously the Yukon is going to be the one for you because you do have a little more space back there. But if you're towing something and you need the most towing capability, well, there's no question about it that the Wagoneer wins where that's concerned. A lot of it just comes down to personal preference. What is it you like? Maybe you're brand loyal. Some people are. That's understandable. But the main thing I always am curious to know about is what are we'll say the top 3 things that make your decision when it comes to buying your next vehicle. So tell me what you think. If you are looking for a full-size SUV and you're choosing between the GMC Yukon and the Jeep Wagoneer, which one do you ultimately choose? And what are the major decision-making factors that will bring you to your ultimate decision? If you're wondering what my decision would ultimately be, here's my answer to your question. I'm going to wait for the 2025 Yukon and see it in person before I would personally make a decision if I was in the market for a full-size SUV. So I do want to say a special thanks to everybody for taking the time to watch. I always appreciate your time. If you enjoyed this video, please make sure to hit the like button. Make sure to share the video so others can see it, and make sure to subscribe to the Vehicle Visionary YouTube channel if you haven't done so already. That way you don't miss any future videos. If you'd like to learn about additional vehicles you may wish to consider purchasing, check out the video that's on the screen right now, and I'll see you there.